Good morning. This is the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion briefing for this Wednesday, May 11th. This is Basil Numerzitsky. Looking at precipitation, over the past 7 days, we've noticed quite a bit across the Sierra and western portions of Nevada. The first shade of green is a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch. Also seeing similar amounts across the mountains of northern Utah into far southeastern portions of Idaho and parts of Wyoming. Lighter amounts further to the north and much lighter to the south. In terms of percent of normal, on the right-hand side, you can see that well above in those aforementioned areas, but much drier than normal across the mountains of south-central Idaho, as well as across southern parts of Utah. Taking a look at the satellite imagery with upper-level maps superimposed, we can see a deep low-pressure area exiting the Dakotas, another one waiting in its wings, but the big player will be this developing ridge of high pressure as it slowly moves onshore and builds across our area. So starting off with our ventilation index for this afternoon, Wednesday, you can see these areas in yellow to red indicate decreasing areas of overall dispersion. Areas in the white indicate excellent dispersion. We break it down into the individual components, and on the left, you can see weaker transport winds across central Nevada, a variety of reasons for that. Winds start picking up a bit across the higher terrain of central Utah, and especially along the Idaho and Wyoming border. On the right-hand side, the vertical mixing areas in the yellow to green indicate 2,000 to 3,000 foot vertical mixing. Not too bad, but areas in the orange to red indicate excellent vertical mixing, 5,000 to 8,000 feet. Taking a look at tomorrow's weather on the left, you can see that ridge of high pressure now starting to nose onshore and push into the western portion of the Great Basin. This dry air mass given by this tannish colors means that skies will be sunny, lots of daytime heating, and that should warm up the ground and cause overall good vertical mixing of these areas in white in just about all areas. We break that down again into the transport winds on the left, and you can see they're starting to pick up a bit from the south and southwest across Nevada, really picking up across eastern portions of Idaho as well as central Idaho up in the mountains. These areas in orange indicate transport winds somewhere close to 30 miles per hour. And that's where the best vertical mixing is as well, those areas in orange, and really not too bad anywhere across the region. So good burn day unless you have too much wind for your prescription. Now if we head over to Friday, see that ridge of high pressure slowly pushes eastward and centers itself right over the Great Basin. Usually that means decreasing dispersion, but because we're in a fast flow pattern where lows get replaced by highs and get replaced by lows again, there's you can see the southerly flow here coming up, or southwest flow on the map, and overall that should enhance overall ventilation. Areas in the white mean no problems. And if we look at the individual components, you can see that at the low levels, at the transport levels, these dark green to orange areas indicate transport flow anywhere around 20 to 24 miles an hour. Vertical mixing, everything's in that 4,000 to 8,000 foot category in just about all areas, so no problems vertically or horizontally. And looking at the Utah Clearing Index produced by the National Weather Service specifically for Utah, you can see that for today, best dispersion will be across eastern areas. Takes a bit of a decrease tomorrow, except over the higher terrain of the Uintas and the northern Wasatch, but all areas should see excellent overall dispersion as we go out towards the end of the week. Looking at expected precipitation over the next 3 days, this is basically through Saturday morning. You can see basically nothing throughout the whole area, so it should be pretty good for underburning. Looking at the weather pattern as we go beyond that period, starting with Saturday afternoon, you can see on the left-hand side the ridge of high pressure starts weakening. We see a weak low-pressure trough starting to push into the Pacific Northwest, upper-level wind flow coming in from the southwest, and a punch of dry air given by these tannish colors across the southern portion of the Great Basin. On the right-hand side, excellent overall dispersion in all areas. Looking at Sunday, You can see low pressure carving out across the Pacific Northwest. And you can see it's gathering moisture. You can see the higher humidity colors in these greenish shades, especially this dark green across northern Nevada and into Idaho indicates probably some pretty good precipitation amounts and increasing clouds across most of the remainder of the region, but still quite good overall in terms of dispersion. And then for next week, starting off with a look at Monday, the low starts lifting out, still a lot leftover clouds and probably some showers or isolated wet thunderstorms. But because, again, we're in the vicinity of low pressure, overall dispersion is looking pretty good. Upper level winds basically coming out of the north. And lastly, by Tuesday, we see still lingering troughiness or a lingering low pressure trough hanging in there with clouds and moisture across the eastern portion of the Great Basin, drier flow coming in across western areas. On the right hand side, still overall good mixing, except maybe across parts of central Idaho. And in terms of precipitation, as we go on for days 4 and 5, this is basically from Saturday morning through Monday morning. You can see that rainfall we're talking about in northern Nevada up to an inch, 1.60 inches along the Nevada-Idaho border. These bluish shades are anywhere from a ½ inch to over an inch, not too much in the south. And if we combine the precipitation totals for days 6 and 7, which is Monday through Wednesday next week, we see about a quarter to a ½ inch in most areas, given by this second to third shade of green. So overall, a showery, cool pattern for most areas. Now, looking at our longer range outlooks for days 8 to 14 or next week, we still see a signal for a much cooler than normal temperatures. That means there'll be more waves of low pressure following on in. Precipitation across most areas above normal, so that should keep the grass growing very nicely and shouldn't see any runaway fire activity in the next 2 weeks. However, do want to remind all users that this will be the last smoke briefing of the season. Our regular fire season briefings begin this Monday, May 16th, and this will be Monday through Friday, and we'll start going 7 days a week with the fire potential briefings starting this Sunday, May 29th. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day. Again, our next briefing will be the actual fire potential briefing, which replaces the smoke briefing, and that'll be this Monday, May 16th. Have a great day.